A couple of years ago, a retired plumber in Tennessee got a $1,600 repair done on his 15-year-old Chevy Express for exactly $0 at a dealership he had never spent a dime at in his life. Two different shops had already quoted him the full $1,600. Then the service writer at the dealership typed his 17-character VIN into the computer, looked at the screen for a moment, and told him there would be no bill, not a discount, no bill at all. He drank their free coffee in the lobby, and 2 hours later he drove home. The dealership wasn't doing him a favor, and this wasn't luck. He walked through one of 5 legal doors that exist for getting van repairs paid by somebody other than you. Doors that dealership employees use every single day while most van owners drive right past them for decades. I'm going to hand you all 5 today. Who to call, what to say, and the 4 mistakes that quietly cost people thousands. But before we open door number 1, you need to see who actually pays for a free repair. Because once you follow the money, the whole thing stops feeling like a trick and starts making cold business sense. Follow the money for a second. When a dealership fixes your van under a recall or a warranty program, the dealer doesn't eat that cost. The manufacturer pays them for it, parts and labor, at rates the dealer is perfectly happy with. Warranty work is real revenue for a service department. A tech turning wrenches on a recall job is a tech getting paid. So the dealership across town has zero reason to hide these repairs from you. The problem is that nobody is paid to track you down and tell you that you qualify. The recall letters get mailed to an address you left 3 owners ago. The Goodwill programs sit in internal bulletins that only service managers read. The state repair funds get announced once in a newspaper notice and then forgotten. Meanwhile, the trade school 2 towns over is literally hunting for vehicles to fix because their students need something real to practice on, and the parts store on Main Street has been holding a free alternator with your name on it for a decade. The entire system runs on money that has already been set aside. Somebody just has to show up and ask for it, and that somebody might as well be you. So let's open door number 1. Method 1. The open recall and the 5-minute check that finds it. When a manufacturer discovers a safety defect in a vehicle, federal law forces them to fix it for free. Not for free during some window while you're paying attention. The repair stays attached to that VIN for years, waiting for somebody to finally bring the vehicle in. And this next number should make you sit up. At any given time, tens of millions of vehicles on American roads are driving around with open recalls that were never completed. Vans are the worst offenders of all because vans change hands constantly. Work vans get sold from the fleet to a contractor, from the contractor to his nephew, from the nephew to you. Every sale is another recall letter mailed to a dead address. The check takes 5 minutes and costs nothing. You find your 17-character VIN on the little metal plate at the base of the windshield, and you enter it on the federal government's recall website, run by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. The screen tells you instantly whether your van has unfinished recall work: airbag inflators, brake components, fuel pumps, wiring harnesses that can catch fire. These are not small jobs. Some of them would be $800 or $1,200 repairs if you were paying. And here is the part that surprises people. You take that van to any dealership of that brand, whether you've ever done business there or not, and they are obligated to do the work. You don't negotiate. You don't prove you're the original owner. The recall follows the vehicle, not the person. That Tennessee plumber from the top of the video, his $1,600 job was a recalled part he'd been quoted for twice by shops that never bothered to run his VIN. One honest caveat before you drive over. On vans past their mid-teens, the law stops forcing the manufacturer to keep honoring old recalls, although most of them do anyway, especially anything involving airbags. If your van is up there in years, one phone call to the dealership confirms it before you burn the gas. One more habit worth building while we're here. Run that same check before you buy any used van, standing right there in the seller's driveway, because an open recall on a van you're about to purchase is a free repair you're about to inherit. Some buyers actually hunt for vans with big open recalls on purpose. Negotiate the price down over the known problem, then drive straight to the dealership and have the manufacturer fix it it for nothing. That's perfectly legal, and the seller usually has no idea what he just handed you. Now, recalls only cover what the government forced the manufacturer to admit. But there's a second category of free repairs the manufacturers really would prefer stayed quiet, and that's door number 2. Method 2, secret warranties, goodwill repairs, and service campaigns. Here's something dealerships know, and customers don't. When a particular engine or transmission starts failing over and over in a particular model, the manufacturer often issues what's called a technical service bulletin, and sometimes quietly extends the warranty on that one component far past the normal coverage. 10 years, 120,000 miles, sometimes more. These extensions get nicknames in the industry, and the most honest nickname is the secret warranty, because the manufacturer typically notifies current registered owners once by mail and then never speaks of it again. Buy the van used a year later, and you'll never know the coverage exists, but it's still attached to your VIN. Then there's goodwill. Every major manufacturer keeps a fund for paying repairs they aren't technically required to pay, purely to keep customers loyal to the brand. A well-known failure a little outside the warranty window. A repeat repair on something that was supposedly fixed. Service managers have real authority to charge those jobs back to the factory, covering half, sometimes all of the bill. Let me give you a real flavor of how this plays out. A retired carpenter in Iowa had the transmission start slipping on his GMC Savana at around 90,000 miles, well outside the normal warranty. 2 shops quoted him north of $3,000. On a whim, his son-in-law called the manufacturer's customer line with the VIN, and it turned out that transmission was covered under an extended service campaign the family had never heard of, because the notice went to the van's first owner, a plumbing company that folded in 2015. The dealership rebuilt it for the cost of nothing. The paperwork had been sitting attached to that VIN for 6 years, waiting for anyone to ask. Getting this money requires knowing where to ask, because the service counter is the wrong window. The person writing up your repair order gets nothing for finding you free money. So you make 2 moves. First, before any repair, you call the manufacturer's customer care line, the toll-free number for Chevrolet or Ford or whoever built your van. Give them the VIN and ask one plain question. Are there any recalls, warranty extensions, or service campaigns open on this vehicle? They can see things the quick lube shop cannot. Second, if you're facing a big repair on a known problem area, you ask the dealership service manager politely whether the manufacturer would consider goodwill assistance on the job. Those exact words. Retirees on a fixed income who ask calmly do remarkably well with this, because you are exactly the loyal, long-term owner these funds were built to keep. But even goodwill is discretionary. The next door isn't. The next door is written into federal law, and it covers the single most expensive part thieves and time love to destroy. Method 3. The emissions warranty almost nobody has read. Buried in the Clean Air Act is a warranty that comes with every van sold in America, and it doesn't care what brand it is. By federal law, the 2 most expensive emissions components on your vehicle, the catalytic converter and the engine control computer, are warranted for 8 years or 80,000 miles. 8 years. Think about what a catalytic converter costs to replace right now. On some vans, that's a $1,500 to $2,500 job because of the precious metals inside. And a huge number of people whose converter fails at year 6 or 7 pay that bill out of pocket, never knowing the manufacturer owed them the part and the labor. Other emissions parts carry a shorter federal warranty of their own, and certain states, California most famously, force coverage that runs even longer. If your check engine light is on and the van is anywhere near those thresholds, you check the warranty before you check your wallet. But say your van is 20 years old and long past every warranty on earth. There's a second half to this method. A number of states run emissions repair assistance programs because the state has a selfish interest in your old van passing the smog test. When a vehicle fails an emissions inspection, these programs pay hundreds of dollars, in some states more than $1,000, toward the repairs needed to make it pass. Income limits apply in most of them, which is exactly why they fit retirees so well. California's Consumer Assistance Program is the famous one, but versions exist in various inspection states, and they get advertised about as loudly as a change in the county water rates. One phone call to your state's DMV or air quality agency, ask asking whether they offer emissions repair assistance tells you if you're sitting on one of these. Now, a quick detour before the door where skilled labor becomes completely free, because this next part bites everyone who runs older vans eventually. Every method in this video means driving an aging vehicle somewhere: a dealership across the county, a trade school, a state inspection lane, usually in the cold months. And sooner or later, the van you're nursing along picks the worst possible moment to quit. Past a certain age, a dead van on a rural shoulder in February isn't an inconvenience, it's a genuine danger. That's why a TerraShell lives in my glove box. It's a sealed thermal bivvy that packs down to about the size of a soda can. If the heater quits or the van dies at dusk waiting on a tow, you climb inside and your own body heat does the rest of the work. There's no battery to charge and no fuel to store, so it can sit in that glove box for 10 years and still save you on the one night you need it. For the price of a tank of gas, it's the cheapest breakdown insurance an old van will ever carry. The link is in the description below. Alright, back to the free repairs, because this next door turns a $100 an hour labor bill into zero. Method 4. The trade school repair bay. Drive past your local community college or vocational high school, and somewhere on that campus is an automotive shop full of lifts, diagnostic computers, and students who desperately need real vehicles with real problems. Textbook engines only teach so much. These programs actively welcome vehicles from the public. The labor is free. You pay for parts, usually at the school's cost, which is often cheaper than you could buy them yourself. Every bolt those students turn happens under a certified instructor, a professional mechanic who checks the work before anything leaves the bay. Brake jobs, suspension, cooling systems, electrical gremlins, even engine and transmission work at the more advanced programs. On a labor-heavy job, this can cut a $1,200 repair to $300 in parts. The honest trade-off is time. Your van becomes a classroom project, and a repair that a shop finishes in a day might take the school 2 or 3 weeks, because students work in scheduled class sessions. So this is the door for the second vehicle, the project van, the camper conversion that isn't your daily driver. There's usually a short waiver to sign, and the schools pick jobs that match what the class is studying that semester, which means a brake class wants brake jobs, and an electrical class wants your mystery wiring problem. Timing your call to the start of a semester, late August or early January, puts you at the front of the line when instructors are hunting for fresh projects. You call the school's automotive department, ask if they accept community vehicles, and get on the list. You've probably driven past this building for 30 years without knowing what's inside. And while we're on this door, there's a quieter version of it. In many areas, non-profit garages and church-affiliated repair ministries fix vehicles for reduced cost or free for seniors, veterans, and folks on limited income, funded by donations and volunteer mechanics. A retired school teacher in Michigan had her Econoline's entire brake system gone through by one of these ministries for the price of the pads and rotors, about $180, on a job she'd been quoted $900 for. Nobody advertised it to her. She heard about it at church, which is how almost everyone hears about it. Ask around. These groups exist in far more counties than you'd guess, but the last door is the one that shocks people the most, because it's money you may have already paid for, sitting in a filing cabinet, waiting for you to say the magic words. Method 5. Lifetime parts warranties and class action money. Walk into any of the big auto parts chains and buy brake pads, an alternator, a starter, a battery, and many of those parts carry a limited lifetime warranty. Lifetime, meaning for as long as you own the van. When those brake pads wear out in 4 years, you bring in the old ones and walk out with a new set for free, as many times as they wear out. Alternator dies 6 years later, free replacement. And for anyone who's shopped at these stores for decades, one detail changes everything. The major chains keep your purchase history in their computer, tied to your phone number. Every part you've bought there for the last 10 or 15 years is sitting in that system. People discover free replacements they earned years ago on parts they were about to buy again at full price. One conversation at the counter, give them your phone number, ask what's on file. That's the whole move. The one discipline it it requires going forward is buying the lifetime warranty version of the part when it's offered, and keeping receipts for anything the computer might miss. The second half of this door is class action settlements. When a manufacturer builds a defective part into enough vehicles, the lawsuits that follow often end with a settlement that pays for repairs, extends coverage, or reimburses owners who already paid to fix the defect out of pocket. That last one matters. People have gotten checks for repairs they paid for years earlier, just by filing a claim form with their receipts. Search your van's make, model, and year alongside the words class action settlement and check whether your VIN qualifies for anything open right now. It costs 10 minutes. Van owners have collected hundreds, sometimes thousands, for problems they'd written off as bad luck. So those are the 5 doors. Now let me spend a couple of minutes on the mistakes, because this is the part of the video that will save some of you real money. Mistake number 1, and it kills more free repairs than the other 3 combined: saying the wrong words at the service counter. When you're asking about goodwill or a warranty extension, you never open by demanding, threatening, or announcing that you know your rights. The service manager you're talking to is the human being who decides whether to request factory money on your behalf, and that request is easier to deny than to file. You ask calmly whether the manufacturer might assist with the repair, you mention how long you've owned the brand, and you let them be the hero. The same conversation, held politely, succeeds where the angry version fails, on the exact same van with the exact same problem. Mistake number 2, paying for any repair before running the VIN. Before $1 leaves your pocket at any shop, you check that 17-character number against the Federal Recall database, and you call the manufacturer's customer line about extensions and campaigns. People pay full price for recalled parts constantly, and once you've paid an independent shop for the job, getting the manufacturer to reimburse you afterward ranges from difficult to impossible. 5 minutes of checking comes first, every time. Mistake number 3, throwing away receipts, lifetime warranties, emissions warranties, goodwill requests, class action reimbursements. Every single door in this video swings on proof. A shoebox in the closet or a folder in the glove box with every parts receipt and repair invoice for the van is worth real money. The store computer helps, but computers get purged and stores change hands. The person with the paper wins the argument. And mistake number 4, letting the wrong shop touch a covered part. If your catalytic converter is still under that federal emissions warranty and a muffler shop welds in a cheap aftermarket one, the free replacement you were owed is gone forever, and you paid for the privilege. Same with a covered engine component swapped at a corner garage. Before anyone repairs something expensive, you ask one question: is this part still under any warranty? A shop that gets cagey about that question is telling you something. So let me leave you with the picture that matters. Somewhere in a filing cabinet in Detroit, in a parts store computer tied to your phone number, in a state repair fund, a trade school sign-up sheet, and a settlement account, there is money already set aside for repairs on vans exactly like yours. Most of it goes unclaimed year after year, not because anyone hid it, but because the people it belongs to never knew to ask. The system isn't secret, it's just quiet. So make the 5-minute move this week. Run your VIN through the Federal Recall site, then call the manufacturer's customer line and ask what's open on your vehicle. One phone call, $0, and it might wipe out a repair you've been putting off since last winter. If this opened a door for you, hit subscribe, because next week I'm covering how drivers over 60 legally cut their vehicle insurance down to almost nothing, and the discounts involved are ones your own agent will never mention first. I'll see you there.